All right, good afternoon, everyone. Futures Barizio here. It is 4:15 on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Hope everybody's having a great day. And it's been pretty fairly quiet start to the week. I did not make a video yesterday, but I did want to jump in, just do a quick update today. I did not take any new trades. I did close a couple of trades, my soybean and corn trade on my funded account, but that's it. Haven't taken anything else as of today, but we'll just jump right in here. And as always, make sure you just smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Any questions, comments, leave them down below, as always. So we'll just jump right in here. We'll start on, well, I guess we'll start over here on oil. So crude oil has been just kind of chopping inside of this 4-hour range here. Let me just take this moving average off because it is a little distracting to me. So here's the 4-hour chart. You know, again, from a higher time frame, it looks like we ran up to what was a previous kind of resistance area and started going down. So the question is, are we sitting basically here at a lower high and we start to trend down again, or are we gonna, break through here? You can see it's having a hard time getting any lower. So I haven't taken any trades in this, but I would love to see some commitment of traders data, which again we don't have still with the government shutdown. And again, we are still in a seasonal pattern here of lower prices, basically for about another month or so. And so we'll see how that shapes up. I mean, if we go down here, we make a lower low here, then perhaps we're going to keep this downtrend going through the month. But I guess you can kind of say that that this is our 4-hour range here. Here's the 4-hour chart. Here's our range right now. We haven't been able to break through here. We've made a few attempts down here. So the question is this, a lower high, and we're going to eventually break through here and continue this downtrend? But still, like I said, this is a very aggressive move to the upside. So I think things are kind of caught right now, and we may just see some sideways price action here for a while. Okay, so I'll continue to watch this, but till I see any like clear breakout trends, I'm probably just going to stay away from this until if and when we start getting COT data back again, or the seasonals shift. So, all right. So on to corn. So corn has been definitely range bound here. This is again the 4-hour chart, and you can see we made this this new high last week on the looks like the 28th or so. We went up, made this new high, a couple attempts to go higher that failed, and now we're just again trading inside of a pretty big range here. However you want to draw this, not really that critical, but you can clearly see the range. Again, from a seasonality standpoint, we're still very bullish on corn. But again, we don't have COT data, so we are trading with one less tool that we normally have. But again, here on the hourly chart, you can see it's very choppy. And again, theoretically, maybe you can say we're putting in higher lows here, but I just don't like these ranging markets. I like to see these clean trends, but again, from a seasonality standpoint, I think you have to continue to expect higher prices. And even if we zoom out to a really high time frame, here's the 12-hour chart. It certainly looks like we have room to go higher. We may just chop around. I mean, we kind of had that same thing back here. A very kind of similar setup happening here where we kind of move sideways for several days, maybe even a couple of weeks before we finally break higher. So I'll continue to watch this. Again, my bias on this is still to the downside, but we'll have to just see what happens here. I just want to look at this for a second on a shorter time frame while we're talking. So here's that same area on a shorter time frame back here where we kind of chopped around like this for a while, very similar to what it's doing now. And you can see we put in these higher lows here. We had like 3 attempts to break lower, failed, came up, did not make a new high, came back, but put in a higher low here and then finally went higher. So I suppose you can make an argument to say, is this that higher low right here? on the shorter time frame, say on the 4 hour, and that eventually will turn and go higher from here. Maybe it's this. If we go down here, we can see kind of multiple attempts on this whole level, basically right here. Multiple attempts to go lower that failed, and now we put in potentially this higher low and start to go higher from here. So market's closed now for the day, but I would watch this area very closely. If this holds into tomorrow's price action, this low holds right here, then that could be the end of the correction, and we start going higher, and that would be a great place to enter because it would be pretty low risk, at this point. But obviously, we can't do anything now. The market's closed for the day, but I'm going to watch this area going into tomorrow because, again, I still hold a bullish bias on corn. Okay, so on to soybean meal, which, as you can see, has just been on an absolute tear. And you can see here, I have this area drawn off as kind of our liquidity or, support area, however you want to talk about here. I wouldn't be surprised to see price come down and wick through this area a little bit, maybe trip off some sellers. If we get price to come down a little bit more, maybe like just stab through here and then maybe go up again. That would not surprise me in the least. So that's what I'm looking for. And again, soybean meal, again, from a seasonality standpoint, is again, we should be looking at higher prices now at least through the rest of this year. Okay. So kind of that whole soy complex. Okay. So we'll just keep watching this. But again, my bias to this is to the long side, and I'll look for any opportunity to potentially get back on the long side of this eventually. But this definitely might have some more downside to go. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if we come back into this area and, wick through here and then maybe turn and go higher. But, if we get a bullish break above this trend line, take out some recent support, some recent market structure, not support, market structure, like right here. If it doesn't get down here and instead it breaks higher through this structure area, then that would make me probably look at taking longs again. So one way or another, still bullish on this, just a matter of how long this correction goes on for. So, all right, so on to Australian dollar. Again, let me take the moving average off. I put those on there once in a while just to visualize, but I don't like leaving them because they are distracting to me. But you can see we just continue to tank here on this Australian dollar. Again, I really wish I had COT data on this, but in the interim, I prefer to trade these, at least get signals on this off the 4-hour chart, just to filter out more of the noise on the shorter time. Even the 1 hour I feel gives too much noise on these currency futures. So, what I'd like to see is, some sort of pullback here, which I just had drawn on there. I just erased it, but some sort of pullback here on the 4-hour chart, and then a resumption of the downtrend, and maybe head back towards these lows, or down at these contract lows down here. So still bullish this market. Bearish, but no entry. This obviously would have been a great place to enter, but did not. And, the problem is a lot of these entries like this one happened during the late Asian or London session when I'm in bed. And by the time I get up into New York, we're already, halfway through these moves. And I just don't like jumping in midstream to these, to these moves. There obviously were a couple of sub moves here to enter on the 1-hour chart. We had this one right here. This one happened actually during the very late New York session. And again, I don't think I would have entered at that time anyways. And this one happened during London. I'm just looking at these bullish candle pullbacks. And this one happened today. This one actually would have been okay if right here. So of this whole move down, this one right here is the only one that would have happened during a time frame when I'm actually on the charts. And that's the problem with currency futures, especially these, overseas ones, that London is still kind of the heart of the, currency Forex market. And a lot of things just happen during that time, and I just don't see them. So, but if I get a setup during New York, I will definitely take it. But again, I would prefer to take one that shows up on the 4 hour chart. And clearly, with these Heikin-Ashi candles, we have not had that. We have had no pullback on the 4 hour chart since this swing was put in back here. I guess this would have been like 2 days ago. So, yeah, it's Sunday. Market open on Sunday. All right, British pound, pretty much the same story as the Australian dollar. Again, our last entry point was back here, which again, this was the, let's see, November 3rd, 12 o'clock. So yeah, that actually was pre-New York session yesterday. So that actually could have been one I could have taken, but I didn't. That would have been a good trade, but it's a little bit early. I'm not usually on the chart quite that early. That's like 7 a.m. my time. I don't usually get on the chart till at least 8. So, but it probably would have been a good trade. But, admittedly, I didn't take it. I don't watch these currency futures really close because I am waiting to get COT data back. I'd love to have that information to kind of know, that I've got kind of those big traders continuing to push in that direction, in this case down. So, all right. So, but I will continue again to watch these, and again, my preferred entry time frame on this is going to be the 4 hour chart on these, using Heikin-Ashi candles just to kind of identify, what is a good pullback area, an actual pullback, and not just a little bit of noise in the market. So. Okay, so on to soybean oil. Now, again, the soy complex should be bullish right now, but you can see soybean oil has been the outlier in that. It's just been going down for a while. And again, we typically have soybean oil run from, early October through mid-November up. But we're heading towards November, mid-November now. Another week or so, week 10 days will be in mid-November. So, and then at that point, are we going to start, turning down even more? I don't know. But, I kind of marked this off. This is our recent swing now on this 4 hour chart, came back up here. So, I'd like to see tomorrow going down to the shorter time frame to see if we get price to roll over again here and start and continue to head down. This is potentially a nice pullback area for a trade tomorrow, but we'll see what happens if we just continue to move down. But, obviously I got this line drawn as our recent swing area. If price gets through here and we swing and, this turns out to be a higher low, then and we get through here, then perhaps we'll start that bullish momentum on soybean oil that we've been waiting for. But if not, then I'll take this as a recent swing high, and then we'll just continue to trade this down on the shorter time frame. So this is what I'll be looking for tomorrow to see if we get any follow through to the downside. Maybe take out some market structure. You can go down to these short time frames like the 15-minute, where you can look for the market to shift, right? It goes up here and then comes down and takes out this 15-minute low. That would be a good place to potentially look at a short and just, put your stop back above here somewhere, either above this high or maybe above this high. Give it a little breathing room and then just see if the market continues down. So, all right, so that's the deal with soybean oil. Again, it's kind of like bucking the trend with the rest of the grain complex. All right, on to soybeans now. So we had a nice pullback today on soybeans. I did exit a trade on my funded account here, although I probably could have held it, but it was in a nice profit, and I was just expecting, because we've been a little volatile, I expected maybe a bigger pullback, and I just didn't want to leave too much on the table. But you can see we came down. I drew out this line earlier today before it got down here as kind of a 1 hour swing point. And you can see, when the market closed, it looks like it was trying to bounce off of here and go higher. So we'll see tomorrow, again, if there's any follow through to the upside. I think as long as we maintain these lows, we will go higher. If it gets through there, then we've got certainly got more support areas. You know, there's another kind of minor one here. This is the 4 hour, 2 hour chart, and then there's the bigger one sitting down here. So we do have multiple layers here, but again, soybeans, you know, should be in a bullish stance here. Again, all the way through the month of January. So again, from a seasonality standpoint, we should be going higher. So my bias still is to the upside, and it's just a matter of you know, how far back this thing pulls. But we do have some layers of support in here that we can look at, and then, you know, go to shorter time frames and see if we get a market shift back higher. I don't know if this is a legit bounce. This is the 15-minute chart, or if this is just, you know, kind of a dead cat bounce. It happened very late in the session. I don't put a lot of weight into it. So we'll see tomorrow morning if the market opens up, you know, where we're at this point. And but again, overall, still bullish on this market, just waiting for the right place to think about getting back in long again. So, all right. And lastly, I don't talk too much about this because there's really nothing to talk about right now. It is hogs. So again, from a seasonality point, hogs is a little choppy. We tend to get some bullish price action from about mid-November through early December. So like a 2 or 3 week period, it tends to trend up. And then we get a little flattening. And then from about mid-January until about late February, so about a 4 to 6 week period, we tend to move up again. And then we have another flattening for a couple more weeks. And then from mid-March through the end of March, we tend to get prices again. So it's a very like sporadic market where it tends to go higher for a couple few weeks, then pulls back or flattens out, and then goes up again, and then, you know, pulls back, flattens out again. And when I say, you know, pull back, I'm talking about like 1 to 2 week pullbacks. I'm not talking about a intraday, you know, 1 day or 2 day pullback. I'm talking about like when it does pull back, it's decent. It's like for a week or 2 weeks. And so, you know, I don't want to be caught in those big, you know, corrective areas. So I just wait. But you can see, you know, we're still trending down here. And so, but we start heading into one of these potentially bullish windows, you know, around mid-month. So I'll be watching this just to kind of see if we get any kind of bullish momentum shift. You know, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science now. You can just clearly see, just throwing and moving a trend line on here, we're just continuing to move down. But at some point, you know, if we get some real strong bullish candles that pop through some of this old structure above the trend line, then that could be our signal of a shift to go back higher again. So I'm going to keep an eye on this just going forward. I haven't been mentioning it too much because we're kind of in a place in the seasonality where, you know, I wasn't trading it anyways, and so I'm going to kind of wait for the seasonality odds to kind of come into my favor and then begin to look for a change. And so that would be to the upside. We don't have it yet, clearly, and I'm certainly not going to try to pick a bottom on this. But you know, I do expect at some point we'll see a pop higher on this from a seasonality standpoint, from a technical standpoint. That certainly is potentially coming into focus here as we get down. We have kind of this double bottom sitting down here in this area right in here between about 77 and change up to about 78. And, you know, we closed today at 79, you know, about 79.8. So it's, you know, it's still got a ways to go, but that actually would make sense. I mean, from a 4-hour time frame, you know, another couple of days of bearish price action, even if a little pullback, you know, another even week plus of pullback and then down again, certainly could happen. And then we get a potential bounce off this low. So that could coincide with the seasonality. Again, I don't have COT data as that third rail. And again, my 3 rails are commitment of traders, looking at what the large traders and the commercial traders are doing, looking at seasonality trends, ones that are you can consistently pull out. Again, doesn't guarantee anything, but ones where it consistently shows seasonality patterns. And then on top of that, you know, using technicals, market structure, price action to tune those entry points based on what the COT and seasonality is telling you. So again, on this market, we're looking for a potential seasonality shift coming soon, and then if that coincides with technical trends, then that would be great. And at some point, we will get COT data back. I don't know when that's going to happen. Is it going to happen this week? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. But eventually, the U.S. government shutdown will end, and these things will crank up again, and the data will start flowing again. But I don't know when that's going to be. And if they open today, let's say, I don't know if there's how long of a delay it's going to be. I doubt it would be the same day the data would start flowing, but I have no idea how that works, where the priorities are. So even if it reopens, we still could see a delay in getting this data flowing again. But the first thing we have to do is, have that shutdown in so we can at least start having a chance to get the data catching up, which we don't have right now. So we're flying, we got, instead of having 3 eyes open, we got 2. And so I'm just going to be patient with this, just let it continue to do what it's going to do. And then at some point, prepare for maybe a seasonality shift, back up at some point, and we start taking out some, market structure areas, then that could be an area to look, and then, trade it through the seasonality period. So, which admittedly is pretty limited on this market, but, I don't tend to hold trades for like weeks on end anyways. So I'm kind of like a short-term swing trader, sometimes even a day trader. But if I hold positions overnight, it's usually not for like extended periods of time. I've held a few for a week or two, but for most of the time, it's a few days. And when it gets to kind of a critical spot on the chart, I'll either close it out and just take my money and go and look for a re-entry later, or at least tighten up a stop loss. So, but anyway, so yeah, so that's Hogs. Just kind of keeping the powder dry on that. I would love to grab a trade on this. But it's one of those markets, there's no micro or mini version for Hogs. So you got to be careful, about how you trade it, especially if you have a smaller account, because it can be a very damaging trade if you're wrong and you don't have the account to handle it. So it's just one of those things. So I want to be sure, or as sure as I can be. There's never anything guaranteed, but I want to be as sure as I can be before I jump in, to know that I've got as much data on my side as I can to take any position here. So like I said, I will hold off and see if we get that bullish shift coming soon. So I will take a peek at it every day and just see where we're at. So, and again, it also has limited trading hours like the grain complex. So there isn't a lot you can do from one day to the next. You just kind of have to, if you're going to see an opportunity, you got to kind of pull the trigger pretty early in the session and then decide if you're going to hold it overnight. So, all right. So that's it, guys. That's all the charts for today. And again, keep an eye and to see if we get some continuations on things like soybeans and I don't know about corn. Maybe corn, like I said, if this turns out to be a higher low, I'm going to keep an eye on this zone tomorrow. But I think the grain complex, especially corn, soybeans, and soybean meal, are definitely poised to go higher. I think we're just taking a breather. And, we'll watch things like hogs and crude oil. I'm not really too keen on much at all right now, but, I watch them every day. So, all right, guys, so that's about it. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and should be back tomorrow, and if we've got anything good to report. All right, take care.